What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, break it down a little bit, and let you know whether it's something you should check out or not. So make sure you subscribe if you want to get more of these every week. To start off with, we're going to be talking about Marvel Legacy number 1. So Marvel Legacy number 1, I realize it's a little bit late for this kind of review. However, it's definitely something that I want to talk about in a lot of detail. It really sets up the next year or two of Marvel storytelling. And what it really does is it breaks down into 3 individual parts. One is Avengers BC, which is really dealing with the Avengers characters and the founding kind of icons of this Marvel history. Then we also deal with Loki and the Frost Giants, which deals with particular, gem or stone. And then we have all these other individual things that set up individual pieces of the actual stories. So we're going to break these down into individual parts, 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, and then probably do a big review video that's going to go over the 10 key points of Marvel Legacy number 1. So let's just dive right into the story for this. The second main storyline for Marvel Legacy number 1 actually involves Loki and the Frost Giants. So we see Loki out in, Jotunheim. He's rallying all these other runty Frost Giants that are really kind of similar to himself. However, they haven't lived the privileged life that he has in Asgard. And he rallies them to their cause, and the idea is for them to invade Midgard, sneak into a facility, and steal something that most people don't even know is there. So this unmarked crate, only identified by 1 number, which plays an important part in the history of the actual Marvel creation. If we're talking about Marvel as a comic book company, it's a cool little Easter egg that goes in there, but nobody really knows the significance. It's not really on any kind of manifest. So at that point in time, we see these Frost Giants invade. They take on these, standard military personnel until Mjolnir, in the hands of the current Jane Foster Thor, comes crashing through the wall and starts to defend this, installation against this attack from Jotunheim, from these Frost Giants. And not only is, Jane Foster's Thor there, but also Sam Wilson's there. He's already acknowledged the fact that he's passing on the torch to the original Captain America, to Steve Rogers, and we're going to get to that a little bit later in the book. But what we find is that he is, he understands who he is. He understands his place in Marvel history and where he can move forward, but he's not afraid to, start swinging the shield every once in a while again if he needs to. As the battle ensues inside this military installation, we also get a drop-in visit from Ironheart. So as you kind of take this story on, we actually see some distinct parallels to the current situation in Marvel. You've got these legacy characters in Avengers 1 million BC, and then you have these current Avengers that are different iterations of the same character. So Sam Wilson's Captain America is a replacement for Steve Rogers, Jane Foster's Thor is a replacement for the Odin son, Thor, Odin son, and then Riri Williams is the current Ironheart, as a replacement for Tony Stark's Iron Man. Not necessarily there's no place in the Marvel Universe for the original characters, but these characters are, they're in prominent roles at this point in time in the Marvel Universe. As we continue on with this battle inside the military installation, not only do we see the Avengers continue to kick ass, but we also see the Frost Giants, at least 1 or 2 of them, that are smart enough not to engage, and they make a stealthy move to actually, acquire the crate, or the case that was inside the crate, and then leave, so that way they can kind of get back to Loki and then start this next plan. Until he meets an unfortunate demise at the hands of a beer truck. And, next to some sort of galactic guidebook or something along those lines, which is sitting on the passenger seat, we see this kind of, this burly but squat, kind of man come out there with his cowboy hat and, not afraid to throw down with a little bit of Frost Giants. And it's not until you see that snicked page reveal. You've got the impression that it's Wolverine, but you don't really know until that point in time. And it's still kind of cool. I definitely dug the whole concept of that. And it's interesting to see how he made it back. And that's a story that's worth reading. As he takes a beer from his truck, cracks it open, and then eventually puts the can into the body of the dead Frost Giant, we see Logan, the original Logan, the Wolverine, open up the case. And inside we find probably what's going to be a key element moving forward inside Marvel Legacy and the universe that's created hereafter. We see an Infinity Stone. Not a gem, but an Infinity Stone. And if we know anything about gemology and jewelry, a stone is an unrefined version of a gem. So we don't necessarily have an idea what the characteristics of this particular beast of creation is, this stone. So that's where we kind of leave off. We do see a situation where the beer truck's kind of there with its camper behind it, crashed, and it's abandoned really at this point in time. So we don't necessarily know what's going on. But that's where the story for Loki and the Frost Giants and the return of Wolverine really comes to an end. The real big thing about this is that the story introduces not only the Infinity Stone, which was kind of, it was basically insinuated in all new Guardians of the Galaxy when, Gamora was sent into the Soul Stone, and, she's on a hunt for those kind of things, but it reintroduces the concept of these Infinity Stones into the Marvel Universe when they haven't really been seen since Secret Wars, other than that one that Black Panther stole. So it's really kind of a cool concept. I'm really excited about where this one goes, simply because it offers us the opportunity to kind of, play with reality and time and all those different things and where they kind of interact in the Marvel Universe. The reveal of Wolverine coming back, I wasn't really missing Wolverine. Old Man Logan's been fantastic, and Laura Kinney's X-23 has taken up the mantle of Wolverine and all new Wolverine very well. But it is kind of... I feel like it's the opportunity for Marvel to kind of like trim a little bit of the fat around here, but I don't think that it's very necessary. Overall, the most interesting part of this entire storyline isn't necessarily the new Avengers kind of bonding together, the introduction of Riri with Captain America with Thor, these founding Avengers characters that are, now new versions of those particular characters. I don't think that's very significant. The return of Wolverine, it doesn't really matter because I was content with the current situation, but the bringing of the Infinity Stone back into the game and then finding out which one it is, because the coloring is blue and there's a whole lot of different stuff as to which stone is which color, so it depends on where you pick your reference. But overall, the art was very good. I really liked the representation of these characters, especially when we got to, Logan's Wolverine. I dig that style a little bit more than I dig the actual fighting inside the installation. But definitely, it's not necessarily a key point in the Marvel Legacy kind of situation. It was meant to be bigger than it actually was. I just felt like it just fell a little bit flatter than some of the other things inside the book. But those are my thoughts on the Loki and the Frost Giants, as well as the Infinity Stone portion of Marvel Legacy #1. But I want to know what you guys think about this too, so hit me up in the comments down below, and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything having to do with the world of comics.